Commander Jake Morrison sat in his chair at the space monitoring station. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Jake had been watching the stars for 10 years. He knew every normal sound the machines made. Tonight felt different. The screens showed the usual data from deep space. Radio waves, cosmic radiation, and the endless chatter of satellites filled the displays. Jake sipped his coffee and checked the time. It was almost midnight on Earth. Suddenly, a strange beeping sound broke the silence. Jake sat up straight. The computer had found something new. A signal was coming from far away in space. This was not normal background noise. Dr. Lisa Parker ran into the room. She was the language expert on the team. Her job was to study any messages that might come from aliens. Lisa had waited her whole life for this moment. "What do we have?" Lisa asked, looking at the screens with wide eyes. Jake pointed to the data. "Something is sending us a message. It keeps repeating the same pattern over and over." Pete Davis, the communications officer, joined them. He was young but very good with computers. Pete's fingers moved fast over the keyboard as he tried to clean up the signal. "This is definitely not natural," Pete said. "Look at these numbers. They follow a mathematical pattern. Only an intelligent being could make this." Lisa felt her heart beating fast. She had studied alien languages that might exist, but she never thought she would really hear one. The three of them worked together to understand the message. The signal was very weak. It had traveled a long distance through space. Pete used the best computers to make it clearer. Slowly, the message became easier to hear. "There are pictures in this signal," Lisa said with excitement. "Star maps. They are showing us where they are located." Jake called Admiral Frank Collins right away. The Admiral was in charge of Earth's space defense. If aliens were really trying to talk to humans, he needed to know immediately. While they waited for the Admiral, Lisa worked on the message. She found mathematical formulas and simple drawings. The aliens were trying very hard to make humans understand them. "They are teaching us their language," Lisa explained to Jake and Pete. "First they show us numbers, then simple words. They are very smart about this." Hours passed as Lisa decoded more of the message. What she found made her feel sad and scared at the same time. Admiral Collins arrived at the station before dawn. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. The Admiral had fought in many wars on Earth. He understood the importance of this discovery. "Show me what you have found," Admiral Collins said. Lisa took a deep breath. "Sir, these aliens call themselves the Zilani. They live near a star called Kepler 442. That star is very far from Earth." She continued explaining while showing the Admiral the decoded message. "The Zilani are peaceful people. They explore space and study science, but another alien race is attacking them." The message told a terrible story. The attacking aliens called themselves the Hegemony. They were conquering peaceful planets across the galaxy. The Hegemony destroyed anyone who would not become their slaves. "The Zilani heard our radio signals from Earth many years ago," Lisa said. "They know we exist. Now they are asking for our help because they have nowhere else to turn." Admiral Collins studied the data carefully. The Zilani had sent detailed information about their attackers. The Hegemony used huge warships to destroy entire cities from space. They had already destroyed 3 Zilani worlds. "How long do the Zilani have left?" the Admiral asked. Pete checked the timestamps on the messages. "Sir, this signal took many years to reach us. The attack might already be over." But more signals kept arriving. The Zilani were still alive and still fighting. Each new message was more desperate than the last. They described their cities burning and their people dying. Admiral Collins made a decision that would change human history. He called President Helen Brooks immediately, even though it was very early in the morning. "Madam President, we have received a message from space. An alien civilization is asking for our help." Within hours, leaders from every country on Earth gathered for an emergency meeting. The decoded alien message was shared with everyone. The room was silent as they listened to the Zilani's desperate plea. Some leaders argued that Earth should stay out of alien wars. "We don't know anything about space combat," said one president. "We might make things worse." Others felt that humans had a duty to help. If we do nothing, we are letting innocent people die, argued another leader. What kind of species would that make us? President Brooks listened to all the arguments. Then she spoke clearly to the room. The Zilani specifically chose to contact us because they believe humans are good people. They trust us to do the right thing. The debate continued for hours. Military experts explained how difficult it would be to send ships so far into space. Scientists worried about the technology gap between humans and these alien empires. But one fact could not be ignored. The Zilani message contained a warning. The hegemony had detected Earth's radio signals too. They were planning to investigate the solar system within 10 years. If the hegemony conquered the Zilani, Earth would be next. This is not just about helping aliens, President Brooks said. This is about protecting our own future. The final vote was taken as the sun set over the meeting room. Every leader raised their hand in agreement. Earth would answer the Zilani's call for help. That night, Jake Morrison sat in the space station and sent humanity's first message to another world. The signal was simple but powerful. Hold on. Help is coming. The message would take years to reach the Zilani. But across the galaxy, humanity had just announced its presence to the universe. The age of humans in space had begun. The morning after the vote, President Brooks stood before the world. Television cameras from every country filmed her as she spoke to all of humanity. My fellow humans, she began. Yesterday we learned that we are not alone in the universe. Today we begin our greatest mission ever. Within 1 hour of her speech, Project Aegis began. This was the largest military operation in human history. Every nation put aside their old fights to work together. General Roy Knight took command of the space mission. He was a tough soldier who had led many difficult battles. Now he faced his biggest challenge yet, building a fleet that could travel to the stars. We have 3 months to prepare, General Knight told his team. 3 months to build ships, train soldiers, and travel farther than any human has ever gone. Dr. Amy Foster led the science team. She was a brilliant woman who understood space, travel better than anyone. Amy had always dreamed of visiting other worlds. Now that dream had become humanity's most important mission. We need to solve 3 big problems, Dr. Foster explained to her scientists. How to travel faster than light, how to talk across the galaxy, and how to fight aliens we have never seen. The work began immediately. In shipyards around the world, workers started building the largest fleet Earth had ever created. These would not be exploration ships. They were warships designed to fight for the freedom of an alien world. Engineer Carlos Mendez designed new engines that could push ships faster than ever before. His fusion drives were so powerful they could reach incredible speeds. But even with these engines, the journey would take months. Dr. Nina Clark worked on an even bigger problem. She tried to find a way to travel faster than light itself. Nina spent days and nights studying physics equations that hurt her brain to think about. Light is supposed to be the speed limit of the universe, Nina explained to her team. But if we can fold space itself, we might find a shortcut. While scientists worked on travel, military leaders prepared for war. They had no idea what kind of weapons the hegemony used. Human weapons might be useless against alien technology. Captain Steve Walker was chosen to command the flagship. The USS Defiance was the largest warship humans had ever built. It carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Steve was a calm man who made good decisions under pressure. His crew trusted him completely. They would need that trust in the battles ahead. We are not going to space to conquer anyone, Steve told his officers. We are going to defend innocent people who cannot defend themselves. The USS Defiance was joined by 29 other warships. Each ship was equipped with humanity's best weapons: particle beam guns that could slice through metal, antimatter torpedoes that could destroy entire buildings, plasma cannons that burned hotter than the sun. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hughes trained the Space Marines. These soldiers would fight on alien worlds with different gravity and strange air. The training was harder than anything they had done before. You might have to fight in zero gravity, Ben told his Marines. You might have to breathe through masks for weeks. You might face enemies that are stronger and faster than humans. The Marines practiced fighting in every condition they could imagine. They learned to use new weapons and new armor. Most importantly, they learned to work as a team no matter what happened. As the ships were built, more messages arrived from the Zilani. Each message brought worse news. The hegemony had destroyed 2 more Zilani colonies. Millions of peaceful aliens had died. Dr. Lisa Parker continued working on the alien language. She was now able to understand most Zilani communications. What she learned made the mission even more urgent. The Zilani are not fighters, Lisa explained to General Knight. They have never fought a war before. They do not even have weapons designed to hurt people. This made the hegemony's attack even more cruel. They were destroying a civilization that could not fight back. The Zilani were like scientists and explorers. They spent their time learning about the universe, not building weapons. The hardest part of Project Aegis was keeping it secret from the hegemony. If the alien empire learned about Earth's fleet, they might attack the solar system first. All radio messages were coded. Workers at the shipyards were told they were building deep space exploration ships. Only a few people knew the real mission. But keeping secrets was hard when the whole world was working together. Millions of people built parts for the ships. Scientists from every country shared their knowledge. It was the greatest cooperation in human history. Dr. Foster finally solved the faster-than-light problem. She discovered how to create small tears in space itself. Ships could jump through these tears and appear in distant star systems. It is like folding a piece of paper, she explained to the team. Instead of traveling along the surface, we punch a hole and go straight through. The first test of the new technology was terrifying. A small robot ship disappeared in a flash of light. For 10 minutes, no one knew if it had worked. Then signals came back from the edge of the solar system. The robot had traveled faster than light and survived. As the fleet neared completion, Captain Walker gathered all the ship commanders. These men and women would lead humanity's first battle among the stars. We are not just representing Earth, Walker told them. We are representing the idea that strong people should protect weak people. We are showing the galaxy what humans believe in. The final ships were ready just as another message arrived from the Zilani. This one was different from the others. It was much weaker and harder to understand. Lisa worked for hours to decode it. When she finished, her face was pale with worry. The hegemony has found the Zilani homeworld, she announced. They are preparing for a final attack. The Zilani estimate they have maybe 2 months before their entire species is destroyed. General Knight looked at the fleet through his office window. 30 powerful warships sat ready to launch. Thousands of soldiers and crew members were prepared to risk their lives for aliens they had never met. Then we leave tomorrow, he said simply. That night, families said goodbye to their loved ones. Parents hugged children who might never come home. Wives and husbands promised to wait for each other. The next morning, the greatest fleet in human history launched toward the stars. The ships rose through Earth's atmosphere and into the darkness of space. Admiral Frank Collins watched from mission control as the fleet disappeared into hyperspace. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to hope. Good luck, he whispered to the empty sky. Make us proud. Across the galaxy, the Zilani continued their desperate fight for survival. They did not know that help was coming. They did not know that a species called humans had decided to risk everything to save them. But somewhere in the darkness between the stars, 30 human warships raced toward their destiny. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity's fury was awakened. 3 months later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and stared at the screens in horror. The Zilani home system was dying. 3 planets that once held billions of living beings now glowed with the fires of orbital bombardment. Space debris floated everywhere, the remains of destroyed ships and space stations. My God, whispered Lieutenant Commander Kate Rodriguez, the intelligence officer. We might be too late. Walker kept his voice calm, though his heart was pounding. Scanner report. What are we looking at? The sensor operator, a young man named Tim Brady, studied his instruments. 7 planets in this system, sir. 3 show signs of recent nuclear bombardment. 4 planets still have intact cities, but I am detecting massive alien ships in orbit around them. Walker nodded grimly. The hegemony was still here, still destroying the Zilani. That meant there were still people to save. Send word to all ships, Walker ordered. We go in silent. No active scanning, no radio transmissions. We need to see what we're up against before they see us. Commander Lisa Grant commanded the USS Shadow, the fleet's best scout ship. Her job was to sneak close to the enemy and gather information without being detected. Lisa was nervous but excited. She had trained for this moment her whole career. Now she would be the first human to see an alien enemy up close. The Shadow moved carefully through the outer system. Lisa's crew used passive sensors to study the hegemony forces. What they found was both scary and encouraging. The hegemony ships were enormous. Each one was bigger than Earth's largest battleship. They carried weapons that could destroy entire cities with one shot. But they moved very slowly and seemed to follow predictable patterns. They rely on brute force, Lisa reported back to Walker. Big guns, heavy armor, but no creativity in their tactics. As the Shadow moved deeper into the system, they detected something else. A small alien ship was trying to escape from one of the dying planets. 3 hegemony fighters were chasing it. Scout pilot Tony Martinez was flying patrol when he saw the chase. The small alien ship was damaged and leaking air. It would not survive much longer. Commander Grant, Tony radioed. There are people in that ship. They are going to die if we do not help them. Lisa had to make a quick decision. Helping, the alien ship would reveal the human fleet's position, but she could not watch innocent people die when she had the power to save them. All fighters attack pattern Delta, Lisa ordered. Save that ship. 3 human fighters dropped out of stealth mode and attacked the hegemony ships. The alien fighters were caught completely by surprise. They had never seen ships that moved like the human fighters. Tony's fighter was smaller and faster than anything the hegemony had. He spun around the alien ship like a dancer, firing precise shots that disabled its weapons without destroying it. In less than 2 minutes, all 3 hegemony fighters were either destroyed or fleeing. The small alien ship was safe. Lisa brought the alien ship aboard the Shadow using the cargo bay. When the airlock opened, the first Zilani that humans had ever seen stepped out. The Zilani were tall and thin, with smooth skin that seemed to sparkle in the light. They had large eyes and long fingers that moved gracefully as they spoke. Most amazing of all, their skin changed colors to show their emotions. The leader of the Zilani group introduced himself as Ambassador Kethvar. He spoke in musical tones, while his skin glowed with soft blue and gold patterns. Dr. Parker had done good work on the Zilani language. The ship's computer could translate most of what Kethvar said. You are the humans, Kethvar said with wonder. We thought you might not receive our message. We thought we would die alone. Commander Grant felt tears in her eyes. We received your message. We came as fast as we could. Kethvar's skin turned bright gold, which the computer said meant joy and gratitude. My people have waited so long, for hope, he said. But I must warn you, the hegemony is more powerful than you can imagine. They have conquered hundreds of worlds. They destroy anyone who opposes them. Lisa brought Kethvar to meet Captain Walker aboard the Defiance. The Zilani ambassador was amazed by the human warship. His people had never built anything designed for war. Walker treated Kethvar with great respect. The captain understood that this meeting would be remembered in history books, the first time humans and aliens spoke as allies. Tell me about the hegemony, Walker requested. We need to know what we are fighting. Kethvar shared everything he knew. The hegemony was an empire that had existed for thousands of years. They believed they were the only species that deserved to rule the galaxy. They do not negotiate, Kethvar explained. They do not show mercy. When they find a new world, they give one choice, submit or die. The hegemony had found the Zilani 5 years ago. At first, they offered to let the Zilani live as slaves. When the peaceful aliens refused, The hegemony began their extermination campaign. They take their time, Kethvar said sadly. They destroy one world, then wait for us to surrender. When we do not, they destroy another world. They want us to live in fear before we die. But Kethvar also shared crucial intelligence. The hegemony fleet was commanded from one enormous ship called the Dominion Spear. If that ship was destroyed, the entire fleet would lose coordination. Their technology is powerful but inflexible, the ambassador explained. They follow the same battle plans they have used for centuries. Walker smiled for the first time since arriving in the system. Then they have never fought humans before. Kethvar had more shocking news to share. The hegemony had detected Earth's radio signals years ago. They were already planning to investigate the solar system after they finished destroying the Zilani. If we do not stop them here, Walker realized, they will find Earth eventually. This changed everything. The mission was no longer just about saving the Zilani. It was about protecting humanity's future. As the human fleet prepared for battle, more Zilani survivors reached their ships. Each group brought more intelligence about hegemony positions and tactics. The humans learned that the hegemony never expected resistance. They had grown arrogant after centuries of easy victories. They believed their superior technology made them unbeatable. Major Kate Rodriguez studied all the intelligence reports. She was looking for weaknesses in the hegemony fleet. What she found gave her hope. They bunched their ships together for maximum firepower, she reported to Walker, but that also makes them vulnerable to concentrated attacks. The hegemony had another weakness. Their ships were designed to fight other slow, heavily armored vessels. They had never faced an enemy that relied on speed and maneuverability. Captain Walker called a meeting of all ship commanders. They would attack in 24 hours before the hegemony could discover the full size of the human fleet. We have one advantage they do not know about, Walker told his captains. They think like conquerors. We think like protectors. They fight for empire. We fight for freedom. That night, Kethvar stood on the bridge of the Defiance and looked at the human fleet. 30 ships against an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds. It seemed impossible. But there was something about the humans that gave him hope. They had traveled across the galaxy to help people they had never met. They risked their lives for an idea. That right was more important than might. Your species is very strange, Kethvar told Captain Walker. Most advanced civilizations become selfish and careful, but humans seem to become more willing to fight for others. Walker looked out at the stars where the hegemony fleet waited. Somewhere in that darkness, an empire was about to learn why. Humanity had never been conquered. We have a saying on Earth, Walker replied. Evil triumphs when good people do nothing. Today, good people are going to do something. The battle for the Zilani system would begin at dawn. Admiral Collins arrived just before dawn with 30 more human ships. The reinforcement fleet had pushed their engines to the limit to reach the battle in time. Captain Walker was relieved to see the additional firepower. 60 human warships now faced the hegemony fleet. It was still not enough ships to match the enemy in raw numbers, but Walker had a plan. We will not fight their kind of battle, Walker explained to the assembled ship commanders. They expect us to line up and trade, shots like old sailing ships. Instead, we will hit them fast and hit them hard. Major Kate Rodriguez had found the perfect target. The Dominion Spear sat in the center of the hegemony formation, surrounded by smaller ships. It was the brain of their entire operation. If we can disable their command ship, Kate explained, their whole fleet will lose coordination. They rely too much on central control. Captain Danny Foster commanded the elite attack squadron. His job was to punch through the hegemony defense line and reach the Dominion Spear. Danny was the best pilot in the human fleet, and he would need every bit of his skill. My ships are fast and small, Danny told Walker. We can get through their defenses, but we will need a distraction. Walker smiled. Leave that to me. The battle plan was risky, but brilliant. 3 groups of human ships would attack hegemony, positions around the system. This would force them to spread their forces thin. Meanwhile, Danny's squadron would use stealth technology to sneak up on the command ship. At exactly noon, the battle began. The first group of human ships attacked. A hegemony patrol near the fourth planet. The alien ships responded exactly as expected, moving slowly to engage the attackers. Commander Lisa Grant led the second attack group against hegemony ships orbiting the sixth planet. Her ships danced around the huge alien vessels, firing quick shots and dodging return fire. Admiral Collins led the third group in a direct assault on the hegemony's supply ships. His heavy cruisers pounded the enemy vessels with particle beam fire. The hegemony commander, Overlord Thekmor, watched the attacks from his command center aboard the Dominion Spear. He was confused and annoyed by the human tactics. These creatures fight like insects, Thekmor growled to his officers. They buzz around our ships but do no real damage. Dr. Ashley Wong, the human intelligence officer, intercepted and translated the hegemony communications. What she heard made her smile. They are completely confused by our tactics, Ashley reported to Walker. They keep asking why we do not fight properly. Thekmor ordered more ships to chase the human attackers. This was exactly what Walker wanted. The hegemony fleet was spreading out across the system, leaving the Dominion Spear with lighter protection. Captain Danny Foster saw his chance. His squadron of 12 fast attack ships activated their stealth systems and moved toward the command ship. They looked like space debris on enemy sensors. The approach took 2 hours. Danny's ships had to move slowly to avoid detection. Meanwhile, the 3 diversion attacks continued around the system. Lieutenant Commander Rick Martinez flew one of Danny's attack ships, the USS Retribution. Rick was nervous but excited. He had dreamed of being a spacefighter pilot since he was a child. "Remember the plan?" Danny radioed to his squadron. "We hit the command systems, not the weapons. We want to capture that ship, not destroy it." As they got closer to the Dominion Spear, the humans could see how massive it really was. The ship was over 2 miles long and covered with weapon turrets. It looked like a floating city built for war. "How are we supposed to damage something that big?" asked one of the younger pilots. Danny had studied the ship's design with Keithvar's help. "Every ship has weak points. We just have to find them." The Zelani ambassador had provided detailed scans of hegemony ship designs. The Dominion Spear's command center was located in the middle of the ship, protected by layers of armor. But the communication arrays were on the outside hull. "We disable their communications first," Danny explained. "Then we go for the command center." When the attack squadron was only 10 miles from the Dominion Spear, they dropped their stealth and began their assault. 12 human ships appeared as if from nowhere and opened fire. The hegemony crew was caught completely off guard. They had been watching the battles around the system and never thought to look for enemies nearby. Danny's ships moved like a swarm of angry bees. They were too small and fast for the Dominion Spear's big guns to target effectively. The human pilots used their superior maneuverability to stay in the enemy ship's blind spots. Rick Martinez flew the Retribution straight at one of the communication towers. His ship's particle beam sliced through the alien metal like a hot knife through butter. "Tower 1 is down," Rick reported as he spun away from return fire. One by one, the other attack ships destroyed the Dominion Spear's communication systems. Within minutes, the massive command ship could not talk to the rest of the hegemony fleet. Overlord Thekmor was furious. He had never seen ships fight like the humans. They moved in 3 dimensions, using the full space around them. Hegemony ships fought in flat formations like ships on an ocean. "Deploy all fighters," Thekmor ordered. "Destroy these pests." Hundreds of hegemony fighters launched from the command ship. They were bigger and more heavily armed than human fighters, but they were also slower and less maneuverable. The dogfight that followed was unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. Human and alien fighters twisted through space in a deadly dance. Laser beams and missile trails lit up the darkness. Captain Foster proved why he was the best pilot in the human fleet. His fighter spun and rolled through the alien formation, destroying enemy ships with precise shots. He seemed to know where each enemy would be before they got there. But the humans were outnumbered 10 to 1. Even their superior piloting could not overcome such odds forever. That was when Walker's main fleet arrived. The USS Defiance and 40 other human warships dropped out of hyperspace, right next to the hegemony formation. They had been hiding behind one of the system's moons waiting for the perfect moment. All ships open fire, Walker ordered. The coordinated human assault hit the hegemony fleet like a hurricane. Human ships that had been built for this exact battle unleashed their full firepower. Particle beams carved through alien hulls. Antimatter torpedoes exploded with the force of small suns. Plasma cannons melted armor that had protected hegemony ships for centuries. The alien fleet was caught between the attacking fighters near the Dominion Spear and Walker's battle fleet. They tried to fight both enemies at once and could not concentrate their fire effectively. Overlord Thekmor realized his fleet was in serious trouble. These humans fought with a coordination and creativity he had never encountered. How do they move their ships so precisely? He demanded of his officers. The answer was simple. Human crews had trained together for months. Each ship captain knew exactly what the others would do. They fought as one unified force instead of individual ships. Captain Foster saw his chance to strike the final blow. With the hegemony fighters distracted by Walker's fleet, he led his squadron directly at the Dominion Spear's command center. "This is for every world you destroyed," Danny whispered as he aimed his ship's most powerful weapon. The concentrated fire from 12 human attack ships punched through the command ship's armor. Explosions rippled through the Dominion Spear as its control systems failed. Suddenly, the entire hegemony fleet stopped moving in coordination. Ships drifted aimlessly as their central command went offline. Some tried to retreat while others continued fighting. The confusion spread through the alien fleet like a disease. Without orders from the Dominion Spear, individual ship captains did not know what to do. Walker saw the enemy's confusion and pressed his advantage. "All ships, general attack. Do not let them reorganize." The human fleet swarmed over the scattered hegemony ships. Some alien vessels tried to surrender, but most fought to the death. The battle raged for 6 more hours as humans systematically destroyed or captured the enemy fleet. When the fighting finally ended, the Kepler 442 system belonged to the humans and Zalani. 43 hegemony ships had been destroyed or captured. Only a handful had escaped to carry word of the defeat back to their empire. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the Defiance and looked at the wreckage floating in space. The cost had been high. 7 human ships were destroyed, and hundreds of crew members had died, but they had won. For the first time in centuries, the hegemony had been defeated in battle. Overlord Thekmor was brought aboard the Defiance as a prisoner. The alien commander was tall and covered in gray scales. His eyes burned with hatred as he faced Walker. "You have won this battle," Thekmor said through the translator. "But the hegemony is vast. We will send 1,000 ships to destroy your pathetic world." Walker looked at the alien with cold eyes. "Then we will be ready for them." The liberation of the Zalani had begun. But Walker knew this was only the first battle in a much larger war. The victory celebration was brief. Captain Walker knew the hegemony would send more ships eventually. The human fleet had to prepare the Zalani system for the next attack. Admiral Collins took charge of the cleanup operation. Dozens of damaged hegemony ships floated in space filled with valuable technology. Human engineers would study every piece of alien equipment they could find. "We need to understand how their weapons work," Collins explained to his technical teams. "The next hegemony fleet will be bigger and more prepared." Dr. Foster led the team studying captured alien technology. What they found was both encouraging and worrying. Hegemony weapons were more powerful than human weapons, but they were also more complicated and harder to repair. "They rely on brute force instead of efficiency," Dr. Foster reported. "Their technology is impressive, but our technology is smarter." The most important prisoner was Overlord Thekmor. Colonel Rachel Turner was put in charge of questioning the hegemony commander. Rachel was an expert at getting information from enemies. At first, Thekmor refused to talk. He sat in his cell and glared at his human guards with hatred. The alien commander believed the hegemony would rescue him soon. "Your species will be extinct within a year," Thekmor told Rachel. "The hegemony does not forgive. The hegemony does not forget." But as days passed with no rescue, the alien commander began to realize his situation. The hegemony had never lost the entire fleet before. They might decide that Thekmore was a failure who deserved to be abandoned. Rachel was patient and clever. She slowly gained the alien's trust by treating him with respect. She brought him food from his homeworld and allowed him to practice his religion. "I am not your enemy," Rachel told him. "I am just a soldier doing my job like you were." Eventually, Thekmore began to talk. What he revealed was both shocking and useful. The hegemony controlled over 300 star systems. They had been conquering worlds for over 2,000 years. But their empire was not as strong as it appeared. "Many worlds obey us only because they fear us," Thekmore admitted. If they believed the hegemony could be defeated, some might rebel. This gave Walker a new idea. Instead of just defending against the hegemony, humans could inspire other species to fight for their freedom. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hughes led Marine units to the surface of the damaged Zilani worlds. The job was heartbreaking. Millions of innocent aliens had been killed in the hegemony attacks, but there were survivors. Zilani who had hidden in underground shelters began to emerge as word of the victory spread. They looked at the human Marines with wonder and gratitude. The Zilani were not warriors, but they were willing to learn. Hughes began training volunteers in basic combat skills. If the hegemony returned, the Zilani would not be helpless victims. "We cannot become killers like them," said Elder Zethka, one of the Zilani leaders. "But we can learn to defend our homes." Hughes understood their concerns. "We are not teaching you to attack others. We are teaching you to protect your families." The most valuable discovery came from studying Zilani science. The peaceful aliens had developed amazing technology for healing and communication. Combined with human military engineering, these discoveries promised incredible advances. Dr. Foster worked closely with Zilani scientists to develop new defensive systems. They created energy shields that could protect entire cities from orbital bombardment. "Human creativity and Zilani knowledge make a powerful combination," Dr. Foster observed. "Together we are stronger than either species alone." The alliance was formalized in a ceremony on the largest Zilani world. Ambassador Kethvar and Captain Walker signed the first treaty between humans and an alien species. "Today, two species become one people," Kethvar declared. "We share the same dream of freedom and peace." The ceremony was broadcast to Earth, where billions of humans watched their species take its first step toward becoming a galactic power. President Brooks spoke to the world from the White House. "Our children will grow up in a galaxy where Earth stands for justice and freedom," she announced. "We have proven that humanity will fight for what is right, no matter how far we must travel." But the victory came with sobering news. Long-range sensors detected hegemony ships massing at the edge of their territory. A much larger fleet was being assembled for revenge. Walker established a permanent human base in the Zilani system. The USS Defiance and 20 other ships would stay to defend the liberated worlds. The rest of the fleet would return to Earth to prepare for the coming war. "This is our first step into a larger galaxy," Walker told his officers. "The hegemony now knows that humans exist. They will come for Earth eventually." Admiral Collins agreed. "We need to be ready for them, and we need to find more allies." The interrogation of Thekmore revealed the locations of other species fighting the hegemony. Brave civilizations were scattered across the galaxy, each fighting alone against the Empire. If we could unite them, Collins realized, we might have a chance to defeat the hegemony completely. Plans were made for diplomatic missions to contact these rebel species. Humans would offer military support in exchange for alliance against the common enemy. Dr. Ashley Wong was chosen to lead the diplomatic team. She had become an expert in alien languages and cultures. Her job was to convince other species that humans could be trusted. "Many aliens will be suspicious of us," Ashley admitted. "They have been betrayed before by species that promised help." But the victory over the hegemony fleet had already made humans famous across the galaxy. Word spread through secret communication networks that a new species had defeated the invincible Empire. On the day of departure, Walker stood on the observation deck of the Defiance and watched Earth's sun in the distance. The small yellow star looked so peaceful and innocent. It was hard to believe it was the home of the species that had just challenged a galactic empire. Kethvar joined him at the window. The Zilani ambassador had become a close friend during the long months of war preparation. "Do you ever regret answering our call for help?" Kethvar asked. Walker thought about all the humans who had died in the battle. He thought about the war that was coming to Earth. Then he thought about the millions of Zilani who were alive because humans had chosen to fight. "No," Walker said simply. "This is who we are. This is what humans do." 3 months later, the first human diplomatic mission departed for the Rigel system, where a species called the Karathi were fighting for survival against hegemony occupation, the Yao. USS Explorer carried Ambassador Wong and a small fleet of support ships. Their mission was to offer the Karathi something no one had given them in decades: hope. Back on Earth, shipyards worked around the clock to build more warships. Every nation contributed resources to humanity's growing space fleet. The age of Earth as an isolated world was over. Children in schools learned about the Zilani and their beautiful crystal cities. They studied alien languages and dreamed of exploring distant stars. A whole generation was growing up knowing that humans were part of something larger. President Brooks established the Department of Galactic Affairs. Its job was to prepare humanity for life among the stars. Earth would need new laws, new institutions, and new ways of thinking about their place in the universe. In the Zilani system, Captain Walker continued preparing for the next hegemony attack. Intelligence reports suggested the enemy was building a fleet of over 200 ships. But Walker was not afraid. Humans had proven they could fight and win against impossible odds. More importantly, they had proven that courage and determination could overcome raw power. The hegemony ruled through fear. Humans offered something better, the hope that freedom was possible. Late at night, Walker would stand on his bridge and look at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, other species were waiting for liberation. Other worlds needed heroes. The hegemony had spent 2,000 years conquering the galaxy. Now they faced an enemy they had never encountered before. A species that fought not for empire, but for the simple idea that all beings deserve to be free. The war for the galaxy had only just begun. But for the first time in centuries, the forces of freedom had reason to hope. Humanity had answered the call. The stars would never be the same. In the distance, new signals were being detected from other star systems. More species were reaching out, asking for help against the hegemony. Each signal was a chance for humanity to prove that some things were worth fighting for, no matter the cost. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun not with conquest, but with liberation. It was a legacy that would echo through the stars for generations to come.